Stocks make a big push higher with advances outpacing declines by a wide margin. Metals and energy stocks lead the charge while FMCG and healthcare lag. The Bharti Group sells a 0.6% stake via block deals in telecom arm Bharti Airtel at near 2100 rupees a share to rake in over 7,000 crore. The sale leads to the promoter holding slipping below 50% in Bharti Airtel. Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles CEO Shailesh Chandra expects the new Sierra to plug the gap in its SUV portfolio and drive up its SUV market share to the 22 to 25% range. He also hopes to clock double-digit growth in FY26. The stock moves higher. Steel stocks gain on expectations of an early decision on the safeguard duty as domestic prices are in line with Chinese and Korean steel. A possible peace deal between Ukraine and Russia could also be positive for global demand. It is a screen that the Bulls would be very, very happy to see at the start of the December series. Good afternoon. You are with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. I am Hormuz Fatakia, and it's an almost triple 100 now on the Nifty. The index is now just around about 100 points away from those record high levels of 26,277. 26,170 is where the index currently stands at, 285 points higher, a percent on the Nifty. And leading the gains are the banking stocks, of course, but the metal names are the ones that are shining bright in today's session. The Nifty Bank up 650 points as well. The metal names are at the highest point of the day. So it's gains across the board if you see for the markets today. And of course, the broader markets, the market breadth was a bit of a pain point over the last few trading sessions, but that too has been taken care of by a significant margin in today's session. The mid-cap index up over 600 points as well. The advanced decline comfortably. The gap continues to remain like a parallel railway line as of now. 2,200 stocks on the NSE advancing compared to 660 stocks that are in the red. We spoke about metal names, and they are up and about, fueled by commentary by the Steel Secretary. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, the Secretary told us that the decision on the safeguard duty on steel is expected soon. Nigel is here with more on this.
Well, the big question is, why are metal stocks up? There are two big factors, right, at play today. Expectations of Fed rate cuts, well, they have moved up in comparison to the past week. And fresh commentary that came in from the Steel Secretary who spoke to us here at CNBC TV 18 exclusively yesterday. First, let's address what the Steel Secretary said, right, with regard to the protection measures. Remember, this provisional safeguard duty expired on November 6th, which means, as of now, there's no safeguard duty in place. But the Secretary assured everyone that the government decision on reinstating the safeguard duty is expected rather soon. So it's giving hope out there. That's actually a bit of a delay, but it's likely to come about. That's the hope that the street is clinging on to. He added that adjustments in the BIS norms as well as the quality controls, well, they are aimed at balancing the interest of both the steel producers as well as consumers as well. So he clarified on that protectionist stand that the government has. But you'll be asking me, why is the safeguard duty important right now? Few factors. Point number one, China's output is down. We all know that. Year to date, it's down. But exports still remain high, and Chinese exports are continuing at around 10 million tons on a monthly basis. That's a worry, because elevated exports means more Chinese steel in the global markets. That's what will put pressure on prices. Second point is domestic prices, well, they are now at par with imported steel. But if you get that safeguard duty at around 12%, then it makes domestic steel far more competitive, as it makes the domestic steel price 12% cheaper than that imports that will come in from China, and 8 to 9% cheaper on those imports that are coming in from Japan as well as from Korea. A safeguard duty would protect margins, support domestic pricing at a time when the global steel pricing on the whole is rather cheap. And point number three is large new steel capacities, they are coming online in India, which could create higher supply in the near term, and export opportunities, well, they have been narrowing. And with EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is known as CBAM, that is likely to increase the compliance cost as well as reduce competitiveness in Europe. This in turn will add pressure on the industry to ensure that domestic market remains viable, strengthening the case actually for a safeguard duty to come in place. And finally, the Steel Secretary, he said that he expects demand to grow at around 8 to 10% ballpark going forward, and steel pricing, which is suppressed right now, he's expecting it to stabilize in 2026. So put everything together, the Fed likely to cut rates, Steel Secretary giving hope that there are duties that could possibly come about rather soon. So on the back of that hope, we have the metal index that's flying away.
Oh, flying away indeed. 2% higher on the Nifty Metals Index. All of the stocks on the index trading with gains in today's session. From metals to autos and Tata Motors passenger vehicles, the underperformer of the year if it comes to the Nifty 50 names, that has relaunched the Tata Sierra at an introductory price of 11.5 lakh rupees. The street has given it a thumbs up. The stock, although off the highs of the day, still holding on to gains of around 1% and a third. Sudarshan is here with more on this. Sudarshan.
So Sierra is reborn. It's the most feature-rich SUV from Tata House, and it's launched at an introductory price of rupees 11.49 lakh. And bookings for the same are expected to start from December of 16 and deliveries from January of 15. So some of the brokerages have written on Tata Motors special vehicle. Most of them are positive, mainly on the basis of this launch. Largely, as far as Tata Motors special vehicle stock is concerned, most of the brokerages have either sell call or neutral call. So Nomura maintains neutral rating. Target is 395. It says this car carries forward the Sierra design into a modern avatar, and pricing too is very aggressive given the base variants are also feature loaded, and it expects potential sales of 10,000 units per month just for this Sierra, and it seems well positioned to benefit even from consumer shift that you have been seeing over the last few years, that consumers are shifting to the premium segment, and it could create a meaningful upside to PV growth expectations over FY 26-28. And after several days of downtake, even in 2025, stock has been one of the biggest underperformers, down more than 51%. Today, it's seeing a minor uptick, currently up more than 1%.
Sudarshan, thank you for that update. Now speaking to CNBC TV 18, Sailesh Chandra, the CEO and Managing Director of the company, said that they are eyeing double-digit growth this fiscal and they are expecting the SUV market share to test levels of 22 to 25%.
Today we would be in SUV segment about 16-17% market share. We hope that with Sierra, our market share in SUV segment can go up to 20% plus, say 20 to 25%, anywhere between that. November, we see that the growth might be double-digit growth. So 3 months we have seen post GST that the growth rates have been in double-digit, and therefore I hope that the sentiment continues going forward. FY26, I can only say that we are definitely eyeing a double-digit growth, but in the first half, our growth rates were not that great, but in Q2, if you see, we were 10% growth. But in second half, we expect that we will be able to garner double-digit growth.
It's officially a 100 now on the Nifty. The market continues to move higher. We started the show at 26,170, and within 10 minutes, the index has added another 15 points to its tally. 301 points higher now on the index. 26,190 is where the index currently stands. So around about 85 to 90 points away now from 26,277. Is where the Nifty lies. Take a short break, but before we do that, here's a quick programming note. If you are looking for the big bets and market themes for 2026, CNBC TV 18 Access gives you direct access to White Oak Capital AMC's Ashish Somaya and Prashant Khemka as they share their winning market themes and actionable investment strategies. You can ask your questions live on the 28th of November at 1:30 p.m. You can become a member today on the CNBC TV 18 app, or log on to cnbctv18.com/access/plans. Welcome back. Now, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent expects President Donald Trump to make a decision on the new Fed chair before Christmas holidays. In a CNBC exclusive, he said that there is one more interview to go, and he was not ready to speculate who might get the job.
Talking to these candidates, I realized the Fed has become this very complicated operation. It's no longer just a price setting of money. There's this very complicated calculus between the monetary policy, the balance sheet, and regulatory policy. And we've really emphasized in the interviews what's the interplay for that calculus in terms of the best way forward for the American economy, and what is each person's point of view in terms of protecting the American people, protecting the economy, and moving forward with the dual mandate.
Can you give us a hint? We often talk about the two Kevins, Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett, being the front runners. Is that still the case?
Andrew, I'm still got one interview left, so I don't think it would be prudent to give any hints. And I think that there's very, very good chance that the president will make an announcement before Christmas. But it's his prerogative whether it's before the Christmas holidays in the New Year's. But things are moving along very well.
Now, the Treasury Secretary also spoke about the 30-minute phone call between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping and said that the US and China will always be natural rivals, but the two countries' relationship is currently in a good place.
President Trump initiated the call 30 days after the historic meeting in Busan, South Korea, between the two leaders. They have a great relationship. And as far as the soybeans, the Chinese are right on schedule in terms of the cadence of their purchases. Over the next 3.5 years, we're going to see the 87.5 million metric tons purchased by the Chinese, minimum, and they are right on schedule. U.S. position on Taiwan is unchanged. And on Ukraine, President and Party Chair Xi agreed that the peace in this Ukraine conflict, they must move forward, and they agreed to work together on it.
Now, the US brokered peace deal to end the war in Ukraine is gaining momentum. Take a look at all the key developments so far.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that Ukraine was ready to advance a US-backed framework for ending the war with Russia and discuss disputed points with US President Donald Trump in talks he said should include European allies. Underlining the high stakes for Ukraine, its capital Kyiv was hit by a barrage of missiles and hundreds of drones overnight in a Russian strike that killed several people and again disrupted power and heating systems. Residents were seen sheltering underground wearing winter jackets, some in tents. US and Ukrainian officials have been trying to narrow the gaps between them over the plan to end the conflict, with Ukraine wary of being strong-armed into accepting a deal largely on Russia's terms, including territorial concessions. Kyiv's message hinted that an intense diplomatic push by the Trump administration could be making progress.
They're going to keep talking. They're talking to Russia now. Steve Witkoff is going over, maybe with Jared. I'm not sure about Jared going, but he's involved in the process, smart guy, and they're going to be meeting with President Putin, I believe, next week in Moscow.
But any optimism could be short-lived, especially as Russia stressed it would not let any deal stray too far from its own objectives. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said an amended peace plan must reflect the, quote, spirit and letter of an understanding reached between Putin and Trump at their Alaska summit in August. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on X that the U.S. had made tremendous progress towards a deal over the past week, adding that there are, quote, a few delicate but not insurmountable details that remain. French President Emmanuel Macron, in a call with a group of countries supporting Ukraine, known as the Coalition of the Willing, said talks were at a critical juncture.
The absolute condition for a good peace is a set of very robust security guarantees and not paper guarantees.
The 28-point peace plan that emerged last week caught many in the U.S. government, Kyiv, and Europe alike off guard. The plan would require Ukraine to cede territory beyond the almost 20% of the country that Russia has captured since its February 2022 full-scale invasion, as well as accept curbs on its military and bar it from ever joining NATO. Conditions Kyiv has long rejected as tantamount to surrender.
Time for a short break here on Business Lunch, but just as we do that, some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now just a click away, and that is the all-new CNBC TV 18 app, which gets you breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates right at your fingertips. You can download the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or even scan the QR code that's up on your screen. Let's take a short break, back with more on the other side. Welcome back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually inaugurated the Safran Aircraft Engine Services India facility in Hyderabad. Now, this facility is Safran is dedicated to maintenance, repair and overhaul center for aviation propulsion engines, the ones used in the Airbus A320neo and Boeing 737 MAX fleets. The center is one of the largest aircraft engine MRO facilities globally and marks the first time for a global engine OEM that has set up such an operation in India. At the inaugural ceremony, Prime Minister Modi said that Safran's new facility will help establish India as a global MRO hub, and the new facility will create new opportunities for the tech youth in the high-tech agri-space sector. Our colleague Madhiya also spoke to the CEO of Safran and began by asking why they chose India when thinking about their biggest maintenance facility.
India is an obvious country for us because we've been here for more than 70 years, accompanying India in their journey for more sovereignty, and also because India is the fastest growing market in civil aviation. More than 10% of growth each and every year. And so there's a big growth from the Indian airlines, and most of them have ordered hundreds of aircraft from Airbus and Boeing. But the fact is, be it Airbus or be it Boeing, we are powering 80% of the aircraft, narrow-body aircraft that are flown by the Indian airlines. And there's a very significant number of engines on order. 500 aircraft are today flying with our engines, and much more to come. We have 2,000 engines on order, and this is just the beginning. And so, because India is so fastest growing country, so important, it was making sense, a lot of sense for us to accompany our Indian airline customer by setting up a maintenance, repair and overhaul center here in India. And this is the first MRO, engine MRO center in India. There was none before.
Yes, yes.
So they had to ship their engine outside of the country, in Far East Asia or in Europe for the maintenance. So for them, they are welcoming this strategic move from us because we are going to be close to them and we are going to reduce the cycle.
India is aiming to become the global MRO hub.
Yes.
What do you feel about that target and how soon can India achieve that?
We strongly believe this ambition is totally legitimate, considering not only the growth of the civil aviation, but also the big needs of the Indian Air Force as well. So for us, it's an obvious vision for India to build up this network. And we want to be a strong contributor to that. And this is why also we have decided through our civilian leg and our military leg to contribute to the build-up of a complete aerospace engine aerosystem in India.
Now, India is marking its 76th Constitution Day. On this day in 1949, the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution of India. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and Prime Minister Narendra Modi presided over the celebrations in the Central Hall of the Old Parliament. Still at 100 points away on the index, we take your leave on this edition of Business Lunch. From me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Midcap Radar on the other side.